Bharati. Mr. Surya Prakash, welcome and thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me on your studio.
First, let's talk about your analysis as far as today's results are concerned.
Actually, I'm not surprised at the outcome because what happened in the run-up to the elections, the opposition turned it into a referendum on Narendra Modi. And if it's a referendum on Narendra Modi, then there is very little chance of his opponents getting the better of him in an election. For the following reasons. One, I am almost completing 50 years as a media person, and in these 50 years I have closely watched governance and politics. And let me tell you, I have not seen a Prime Minister of this country connect with the people, communicate with the people like Mr. Narendra Modi has done. This is a phenomenal achievement for a Prime Minister in a nation which has 1,300 million people, to connect with them, to communicate with them. And his Mann Ki Baat, you know, the opposition used to make fun of him about that. They never realized. It was never one-way traffic. These 5 years I have seen, it is always two-way traffic. He used to ask people to give him suggestions. He used to say, tell me what should I talk about in my next Mann Ki Baat. I have never seen this happen, and he used to get thousands and thousands of letters and communication through social media and so on, which he would, his office would go through and then pick up some very important suggestions. He would credit the suggestions to the citizen who has made it and then ask people to take that forward. So this is extraordinary. I have not seen this in all these years that I have been a media person. The second thing is public involvement in governance. Like I said, through Mann Ki Baat, to so many other crowdsourcing was a very
mobile app.
His app, so many ways. I mean, the cumulative effect of all this is his deep connect with the people of India. Secondly, the whole issue of national security. When Pulwama happened, that was the limit. And I think that decisive response that he gave to that incident, the people of India said, this is the kind of leadership we need.
You know, talking about national security, Mr. Prakash, do you believe that the opposition lost the plot somewhere? They were caught off guard really on this issue of national security?
Absolutely. They never had respect for that. You see, in the preceding 10 years of Dr. Manmohan Singh, we never saw that assertion that ought to be there from a nation as big as India. Two issues concerning national security. So therefore, that was the expectation from Prime Minister Modi, and he delivered. Secondly, he delivered big in regard to social sector schemes. This has never happened. You know, I used to cover Indira Gandhi's elections in the 1971 campaign, where she would talk about the poverty in India and say, Garibi Hatao. The question was, who is to hatao that Garibi? If you stand up there and lecture saying, Garibi Hatao, who is to hatao that Garibi? And throughout the 40-50 years the Congress was in power, poverty persisted and grew. It is only now in the last 5 years of the Narendra Modi government that I saw very effective and decisive steps being taken to handle the issue of poverty, underdevelopment, like providing housing for the poor, the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, that Ujjwala gas scheme, the roads that were built, electricity for every village. I travelled in 6-7 states in this country during the elections. Everywhere I would find poor people talking about the delivery of schemes at the village level. This is the first time I was seeing that. And they were crediting it to Mr. Modi. They said, this is Modi's gift for all of us. And we are going to vote for him. At the middle class and other levels, national security was a very big issue. It was a big issue for all people across it. But for the middle class specifically, this issue of national security, so that Balakot strike, I think, clinched it as far as Mr. Modi was concerned. They said, this is the kind of leader India must have.
What else do you think has worked for Prime Minister Modi, and how did the Modi magic work all across the country?
You see, the other thing I will tell you, Modi versus a question mark. The other thing is abusing the Prime Minister. I have never seen an Indian Prime Minister being abused like this. This has to stop. This is most unfortunate, and I think the people of this country have given their response to that. That is not the language to be used in respect of our Prime Minister. I have never seen people talk like that about Indira Gandhi or Jawaharlal Nehru or anybody. How dare anybody do that? And I think the people have given their reply to that. That should never happen in our politics. You have to respect that office. And secondly, a person who has grown up in such indigent circumstances, who has become your Prime Minister, this is the ultimate success of India's democracy. Whatever be your beginnings, social, political, economic, whatever your status, you can rise to the highest office in this land. That is what democracy is all about.
Absolutely.
And that is what Mr. Modi represents, and stands for. And that is why he is a great hero for people, because they say this is what you can aspire for in this land.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but let me just take our viewers' attention to the live visuals on our screens right now. There you have it.
Yes,
Amit
Mr.
Shah.
Modi has arrived at the party headquarters.
Absolutely, a very joyous moment really as far as the Prime Minister is concerned. So clearly, joyous moments there as far as the BJP is concerned, and we'll obviously go there when the Prime Minister speaks and addresses the media and addresses others at the party headquarters as well. Of course, these visuals are coming to you live from the BJP headquarters in Delhi. Continuing our discussion here, Mr. Prakash, we're talking about language used by the opposition against the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the issues that they raised. The GST, they called it the Gabbar Singh tax. Then they spoke about demonetization. They spoke about how unemployment is at its highest level in the country as it stands today. Clearly, all these issues have not resonated with the voter on the ground.
It hasn't, for the simple reason I will tell you. In Hindi, they say niyat. Niyat should never be in question. Intention. In these 5 years, the people have never doubted his intentions. Some of the things he did may not have worked out the best way possible. Many things worked out. But the test actually you have to pass, if you are a politician, if you are in public life, is one of intention. That niyat test you have to pass. That he did long ago, and that assertion is there, you can see now. And that is, I'm saying that in the context of GST, the president of the Congress party called it Gabbar Singh tax. It is ridiculous and childish. Every state in the country, its finance minister was on the committee. The GST committee is not a central union government committee. It was not just union government. All the 29 states were represented there. In fact, it's the state finance minister, a committee of state finance ministers, and if I am right, it was first the CPM finance minister of West Bengal who was the chairman of a committee which initiated this whole process of bringing in GST. So it is, in my view, the most federal experiment that we have made. It's very significant in terms of tax reform and so on. It is going to take this country ahead, and no responsible person should talk so lightly about it when his own party and several chief ministers of his own party are privy to those deliberations and are party to the decisions taken in regard to level of tax and so on. Absolutely irresponsible.
Talking about reforms.
I think people understood that.
Sure. Talking about reforms now, we've seen several reforms being undertaken over the last 5 years. Are we going to continue down that road over the next 5 years? What should the focus of the government be, do you think?
I think, you see, the Prime Minister has, from my own sense of it, he had already initiated, plans for what he will do in the first 100 days, and he already has a plan for what he will do over the next 5 years. And most importantly, in his manifesto, he has set a deadline of 3 years to complete many of these things, like housing and so many things. Which isn't that extraordinary? When we give a 5-year tenure to a Prime Minister, the Prime Minister is telling the people in next 3 years I will do this. So I think he will be from day one, on top gear in pursuing the initiatives he has taken, whether toilets. In my travels across Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, West Bengal, Karnataka, Haryana, I found people, in the villages and so on, talking about the toilet scheme, talking about electricity, and how women have, they are great fans of Narendra Modi for these initiatives he has taken. And I am sorry to say that for 70 years, 70% of Indian homes did not have toilets and nobody bothered about it. Isn't that irresponsible for those who governed this country all these years? Such a basic thing. And what does that do to the dignity of women, to the security of women? Isn't it? Tragic. I am very happy we have a Prime Minister who spotted that problem and said, come on, we must build toilets in this country. And I am certain the way it's going, in next 4-5 years, 70-80% Indian households will have toilets.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Several reforms have been undertaken.
Yes.
I'm sure many more will be undertaken over the next 5 years. But, Mr. Surya Prakash, as far as the Prime Minister's post is concerned, before the elections, there were several aspirants who were hoping that they could be the Prime Minister come May 23rd. They were speaking to each other. They were making a lot of noise about it. The TMC was one party which did so. The TDP was another party. Several southern parties had aspirations, prime ministerial aspirations. Where does this leave them?
Nothing, when the boxes are opened and you get the final result, you must just accept that honorably and carry on. There's nothing wrong in aspiring to be the Prime Minister of India. Why should you not aspire? So long as you are a citizen and you fulfill all the qualifications that are there in the Constitution to be a member of Parliament, you can be a Prime Minister of India, you aspire for it. But all this abuse that was heaped on the incumbent Prime Minister in order that you will get there is totally unacceptable. But the other thing I must tell you, Frank, which is very, very important, what this election is telling us is the maturity of the Indian voter. It's extraordinary. Look at Orissa. They have voted Naveen Patnaik's party back to power in the state. And they have given so many seats to Bharatiya Janata Party in the Parliament. The ability to sift this on a single day when voting happens is truly remarkable. Also, I must tell you, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, where they voted Congress governments just some months ago. This is a massive vote for Mr. Modi in those very states. The ability to distinguish the state, governance in the state to that at the federal level is a very big advance in our electoral history, in the history of our democracy. I remember that in December 1984, after Indira Gandhi's assassination, there was an election. And in that election, the Congress party just thrashed the Janata Party headed by Ramakrishna Hegde in Karnataka in December. Hegde resigned, but the central government asked him to continue till elections are held. But in March 1985, the people voted Hegde to power. So that to discern the state from the center is a very important thing, and I think this has happened because of that strong faith in Prime Minister Modi. Lastly, another point I wish to make, look at the plight of the communists. I do not know if they have even 1 or 2 seats as of now at this moment. They had 52 seats in 2004 in the Lok Sabha. Amazing left front. And just CPI, CPM. And it's reduced to maybe a couple of seats or nothing at all now. I'm not surprised at this because during my travel in West Bengal, I found the CPM campaigning and they were carrying these red flags with hammer and sickle and saying Inqilab Zindabad. I thought I was just transported back 50 years, 100 years to some Satyajit Ray movie or something like that. Yeah? In which world are they living in? What inqilab? After Narasimha Rao opened up the economy, that is the big revolution that has happened in this country. India is economically marching ahead over the last 20-25 years, and the last 5 years, Mr. Modi's clear directions are taking it to a new level altogether. So I could see that that party is somewhere stuck in the past.
You know, talking about your travels,
Yeah.
you've been traveling to Amethi for over 30 years now.
Yes, yes.
Your thoughts on Amethi and the result today? Amethi, pocket borough seat of the Congress and
Yeah.
the family,
Yeah.
you know, pushing out Rahul Gandhi from there and giving Smriti Irani the mandate.
I have traveled to Amethi many times over the last 30 years. Almost every election, every other election, I go and look at that constituency. It is one of the worst represented constituencies in the country. It is so backward, it's pathetic. I traveled in Varanasi 2-3 days. Mr. Modi is the MP from Varanasi. You should see the development there. What a Prime Minister can do, what an MP can do. Amethi is one of the most backward constituencies. Highly irresponsible on the person who was representing Amethi to leave it in such backwardness. So, the defeat of Mr. Rahul Gandhi there is something that should happen, and I am very happy it is happening. Also, I must tell you, in 1977 also, the family was defeated in Amethi, and it lost that seat by 75,000 votes. So, but this time, when Mr. Gandhi loses Amethi, I have a sense that they will never be able to get that back. They meaning the Nehru Gandhi family.
Is that something that the Congress saw, the writing on the wall, and that's why Rahul Gandhi
Yes.
decided to fight or contest from Wayanad?
Yes, they did, because if you see the assembly election results and so many other things, it was quite obvious that the people were now getting frustrated with the person representing them in the Lok Sabha, and a change was possible. And that is really spectacular that is happening. It is good for the people of Amethi, and I think we can all be confident now that constituency in Uttar Pradesh, which has stood neglected all this while, although it sent people from particular family who were prime ministers and this, that, and the other to the Lok Sabha. Finally, you will see its development.
Let's shift focus to South India now and your
Yeah.
home state of Karnataka.
Yes.
25 seats out of 28. Did you expect it for the BJP?
No, when I traveled in Karnataka, I could see the youth. I mean, Mr. Modi is like a rock star for them. Massive. And across Jati. You say that old Mysore area, Mr. Devegowda, all the Vakligas will vote for Mr. Devegowda's party. I met a lot of young people in that caste who swear by Narendra Modi. The same thing with other castes. And therefore, I knew that the BJP will be well ahead of that Gathbandhan in Karnataka. Secondly, it was not working on the ground at all. You see, the two leaders meet and say that we shall share tickets and seats and so on. It doesn't percolate down below. And the Congress has ceded some of their best bastions to the JDS, where JDS has no hold at all.
I'll just
so
come back
the
to
Congress
that
people
point.
there just sat at home or voted for Narendra Modi.
I'll just come back to Karnataka in just a bit, but we are getting some breaking news right now.
Yes.
Coming in from Varanasi, the result has been declared. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has won with a handsome majority there in Varanasi. 4,79,000 votes is the margin of victory for Prime Minister Narendra Modi from Varanasi. So, Mr. Surya Prakash, result is out.
Fantastic. It's a fantastic victory for him. Massive victory. And as I said, if you have been to Varanasi, you will see it. You should see his dream project, the corridor he is building from River Ganga to Kashi Vishwanath Temple. Amazing. But coming back to the communists, let me tell you a final point about communists. Their vote share will crash in this election when we get the final number. I do not know how many seats they will pick up, maybe a couple. So, the communists are out, but Stalin is in. That is the story of May 23, 2019.
I'm going to go back and take your focus to Karnataka because
Yeah.
the result is extremely interesting. there was infighting before the elections were to be held there. After the elections, the Congress and the JDS started sending out different signals. What does this result mean for the JDS and what happens to the state government?
I think the state government is already shaky. It's already shaky. Two things I want to say. One, the Janata Dal Secular is really not a very strong member of that anti-BJP alliance, because they have had an alliance with the BJP earlier. And that party may tomorrow decide, to be far more practical and sensible in this environment. Don't be surprised, because they are not like the CPI, CPM, which will be where they have agreed to be. There are many parties which can float and cross the line, as it were. So that is possible, and there are already worries about the Mr. Roshan Beg, who has been with Congress long years. I was looking at his statements. Very worrying for Congress. Very worrying time.
One more interesting...
And for that alliance.
One more interesting aspect.
By the way, there are fabulous visuals of the Prime Minister and the party president.
Absolutely. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi and party president Amit Shah there at the BJP headquarters. Celebratory visuals really coming to you now from the party.
And Mr. Modi has the victory sign both hands up continuously.
Absolutely. A great moment there for the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. His magic has well and truly worked, really, as far as the elections are concerned, and the mandate is clearly for him for the next 5 years and for his Vikas. Talking about Vikas, Mr. Surya Prakash, is this mandate clear that the country wants development and that's why it has voted like this?
Absolutely. In his campaign, he only spoke of development. He spoke of the things his government has done, both in the social sector side, in terms of national security, many things. That was the agenda. You say, and then there were people saying, oh, this polarizing and so on. I don't think he polarized anybody. Somebody polarized somebody. The rest of India is strongly with him. This is all. I don't think he did anything to polarize.
Sure.
And if at all there is polarization for the schemes that he has implemented. As I said, in my travels I found a lot of people talking about what they had got by way of implementation of social schemes.
Sure. Let me just remind our viewers once again that these are live visuals that are coming to you from the BJP headquarters. Right now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has reached there along with the party president Amit Shah, who they will both be addressing the nation and the gathering there in just a short while from now. Mr. Surya Prakash, continuing our discussion here for the next few minutes till Prime Minister Modi actually comes out and starts speaking.
Yeah.
As far as the numbers today are concerned, if you look at them closely and analyze them, wherever the BJP hasn't won, they have almost come in second at all of those constituencies that they have fought. Correct. What does that mean? Where does it, leave the rest of them? Because the BJP is clearly emerging as a strong alternative in states that were held by the Congress, bastions of the Congress in the past.
Yeah, look at Orissa, look at West Bengal.
Telangana, they have made an impact in Telangana as well this time.
The impact they have made. Telangana, Kerala, these are states where they will now soon, they will do the same operation they have done in West Bengal. And this is all is fair in electoral politics. If you don't govern, if you don't give people hope, then why blame the other party? If you look at this Mahagathbandhan and all those who combined to fight him, what was their agenda other than abusing him and saying Modi hatao? This is exactly what the Grand Alliance did when in 1971 the Grand Alliance of Swatantra Party, Jan Sangh, SSP, PSP, so many parties came together to fight Indira Gandhi, and they said Indira hatao. People said sorry. Indira Gandhi got a massive majority, I think 351, 353 seats, 363 seats or something like that. Massive. So, you see a repeat of that now. that negative argument is not going to help. The point is, what will you, if we had voted you to power, what would you give us? I don't think anybody knew that.
Right.
It is just a question mark.
Right, and one quick question before I let you go and before we head on to the Prime Minister Narendra Modi there. What was the biggest difference and how would you compare 2019 to 2014?
The difference is that you have had a Prime Minister incumbent 5 years and he has worked tirelessly. By the way, I must tell you, I have not seen a Prime Minister who has worked as hard as Mr. Modi. It's simply impossible to keep pace with him. Even his own colleagues would say that to you when you meet them. It's truly amazing. And people, you see, people have discerned that and they respect that. They respect that.
Sure.
And that you see in the results and numbers.
All right, Mr. Surya Prakash, a pleasure having you on the program and thank you for breaking down those numbers for us and putting things into perspective for us. All right, let's now go across live to the BJP headquarters where the celebrations have well and truly started and you can see the mood is that